Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. Today we're going to look at some early deck lists from Raging Surf, from Garchomp EX, and the brand new Skeledirge Ex. Yes, there is another Skeledirge Ex coming out in Raging Surf slash Paradox Rift, and this Skeledirge is actually pretty good, and I'm excited to look at some of these lists here. Skeledirge itself is looking pretty awesome. I'm excited to take a look at them. Garchomp EX is looking pretty solid too. I think both Garchomp and Skeledirge are pretty good cards. I'm going to look at deck lists for both of these decks in today's video. Of course, I will leave a link down below to Pokebook if you want to go check out these deck lists yourself on their website. And if y'all are new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below and leave a like on the video if you are going to go on to enjoy today's video. Let me know what you think of the deck list down below too. So we'll take a look at Garchomp real quick. So, Garchomp EX is a brand new EX coming out. That is a Stage 2, and it is a water Pokemon. So, it does have two attacks. The first attack, Hydro Lander, allows you to attach up to 3 fight energy from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. That's pretty strong. Obviously, you are able... Here, let me zoom in a little bit. You are able to hit pretty hard for 1 energy. You can play that with Cheryl. And, of course, you can attach 3 fighting energy from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon. So, that's a great energy acceleration. Fighting Pokemon haven't really had much good acceleration for a while now. So, it is nice to have a card like Garchomp in the game where you can use Garchomp to accelerate energy to your fighting Pokemon. And then your other attack, Sonic Dive, does 120 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, but you have to discard 2 energy from it. That's fine. I mean, some decks play Manaphy, some don't. If your opponent doesn't bench Manaphy against your Garchomp deck, then you get a free 120 snipe. Garchomp also has a free retreat, and it's a water stage 2, so it does work with Irida, and that's what makes Garchomp good. It's a very low efficient attacker, where it may not be doing, you know, a ton of damage, but it is able to get energy in play, and also has some pretty good synergy with supporters like Irida. So let's take a look at some Garchomp decks here and see what people are cooking up. Starting off, we do have a Garchomp build using Gallade. Now, I will take note, Garchomp does have the ability to be played with something like Jirachi. Of course, the new Jirachi is a huge upgrade to the format, as it does have that ability where Sableye can't affect your bench, and that's what makes Jirachi so good. And we can see this actually got top 4 in a tournament, so it is playing at the Gallade engine, playing at Cheryl. And I think the idea behind this deck is you're just trying to hit with Garchomp every turn, using Cheryl to heal your stuff off. It's a very straightforward archetype. Does play that Luminous Energy, which does work with Gallade. You can put 2 Fight Energy onto a Gallade and then Luminous Energy on it, so you can attack with Gallade. And then again, the double Cheryl with the Pelpad. With Gallade, it means every time Garchomp takes a hit, you can just Cheryl, heal the Garchomp off, swing for 160. Pretty solid combo here. And then, of course, with some Path to Peak for some disruption, and of course, the Jirachi, so that it's harder for your opponent to be able to Sableye you, because obviously one of the downsides of playing the Curly Gallade engine is that Sableye kind of wrecks you, but when you have Jirachi, you can protect your bench. We got another build here using Hisuian, Samurott, and Decidueye. This actually did win a gym battle. Decidueye does have the attack where it can discard up to 3 basic energy from your hand. I think you can do up to like 250 in total, but you can't have a double turbo on it. This deck does play 4 DTE. It does play Samurott, which discards a card from your hand to draw 3 cards, so some synergy there. I think Samurott's attack actually does more damage for each energy you have in play. So you can actually pile up a ton of energy in play with Garchomp, and then Samurott can do a bunch of damage. Just play that reversal energy to attack with Samurott. It is also a dark Pokemon, which is nice against Mew and Gardevoir. So it's a nice little combo here. Also playing Cross Switcher. I mean, if you're drawing a lot of cards every turn with Samurott, you even have Decidueye's V-Star power, which can draw you up to 8 cards. It's not hard to pull off like double Cross Switcher combos. Also playing the double Cheryl once again for the Garchomp. So yeah, Garchomp Lucario. Now this is the one that I think is going to be the most popular, is Garchomp Lucario. We see 2 different versions of Garchomp Lucario. Garchomp Lucario seems like the most, I guess, like straightforward way to play the deck, because Lucario obviously does have that ability where you can put a fight energy onto it from your deck, but you have to put 2 damage counters on it, and then its main attack does 10 plus 60 more damage for each fight energy on Lucario, and then you have to discard all the energy. So you can just load up energy with Garchomp and Lucario's ability onto a Lucario, and then you can come in hot with a Lucario and take a big knockout out of nowhere. So that's the idea behind playing the Lucario with Garchomp. I think it's definitely the best way to play the Garchomp in theory, because it's very straightforward. You have a 1 prize attacker, so you have this really high HP, 320 HP attacker that also has the option to, you know, have a 1-hit KO attacker with Lucario. It also has Raihan, and there's a lot of ways to just load up a Lucario. And again, with Jirachi in the meta now, Sableye is not as big of an issue anymore, which is kind of nice. See an Arceus build of Garchomp. This one is a bit more of just a straightforward build using Arceus V-Star with Garchomp. Arceus can obviously get you rare candy Garchomp. You can see the 4 Irida. Again, Irida lets you get rare candy, and Garchomp, being that Garchomp is a water Pokemon, pretty good synergy there. And then, of course, you do have the Arceus, which can easily set you up. It's a very straightforward build. I guess Arceus is okay in the deck. Nothing too crazy. It does play Path, so it is a bit of a Path-heavy deck, too, slowing the opponent down. We got another Lucario build here, once again, showing off how good Lucario is. And another Lucario build, but this kind of matches together the other decks we saw. This one does play the Gallade Curly engine with Lucario. Of course, Curlia can synergize with Garchomp nicely because you can use Refinement to discard Fighting Energy for Garchomp's attacks and then accelerate energy onto your Pokemon. So kind of a cool combo there. Definitely a pretty okay archetype. I mean, got the draw engine, and it is, okay now to play these low HP Pokemon because you do have Jirachi in the format to protect yourself from getting Sableye, which is nice. So it feels safer to play all these low HP Pokemon. And again, being a one-prize attacker with Lucario really does make this deck scary because Garchomp is very tanky, and then when you combine that with Lucario, it is kind of an interesting, it kind of it's a skewer surprise trade, you know what I mean? We got more Garchomp. This one is a bit of a Garchomp box deck. It is playing the new Groudon, I forget what it does. It does a lot of damage, though. It's also in Raging Surf. And then there's also Terrakion, which Cavern Tackle, which makes Terrakion immune to damage and effects for the turn you play it. However, you can't Cavern Tackle twice. So if you Cavern Tackle, you can't do it again. Even if you were to reset it, you can't play it again. Even if you have another Terrakion, you can't do Cavern Tackle. So it has to be one Cavern Tackle per every other turn. But it does have that immunity. It can be really annoying to play against if you're playing against a deck that doesn't have a way to get around the tracking that easily. And, of course, it does have still Lucario in the deck and the Paths and the Cheryls with the Garchomp. We got another Garchomp deck here. This one is another straightforward Garchomp build with the one of Arcanine. Arcanine's kind of smart, of course. You can move a bunch of energy to it with its ability, and you can load it up. It does 90 plus 30 more damage for each fighting energy on it. So you can kind of load up the Arcanine with fighting energy, and then you can come in swinging hot, which is pretty cool. As a one-prize attacker, it's not bad. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing a Forest Seal Stone in this build, though, to try to make it easier. Or Sky or Forest would probably be really good in this deck. So I think that's one thing this deck maybe could play is a Sky Seal or a Forest Seal Stone for the Arcanine. But Arcanine definitely does have some good synergy with Garchomp. You see all these things like Lucario, Arcanine, Terrakion. They're all maybe playable now because of Garchomp, which is nice. Because fighting Pokemon really did lack Energy Excel. This is an interesting build. It's playing Kingdra. So Kingdra's got the ability where you can make either player put their hand at the bottom of the deck and draw 4 cards. So it's basically a built-in Marnie with the ability, and then it's got Decidueye and Terrakion. More or less just a Garchomp deck with the one of attackers, no Lucarios or anything like that. Another Arceus build with that one of Groudon. I do forget what the Groudon does, but the Groudon definitely is interesting. I guess we can maybe look here what our Groudon does. We can find it here. Groudon. Where is it at? Where is the Groudon? Groudon. Found it. All right, there it is. Boom, we found it. So yeah, it does have Magma Purge. You may discard the 4 energy from your Pokemon, 60 feet. Oh, okay, so that's what it does. I knew it was some really hard-hitting attack, but yeah, it does 60 damage for each energy discard. So if you can put 4 energy in play, it's doing 240 damage. That's not bad. So that's definitely a really strong attacker. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we knew what Groudon did. But yeah, Groudon is a good one-prize attacker. I mean, 240 damage is really good numbers. Obviously, you're knocking out a lot of basics and stuff. So yeah, maybe Groudon's better than Lucario. It's also a basic. We got another Lucario build. Playing the Pidgeot in the deck. I do like the idea of playing Pidgeot with Lucario, too. It's not a terrible option. You already have Rare Candy. I don't know if you're going to be putting, 4 Garchomps in play per game. So you can sometimes afford to get a Pidgeot in play. And, I mean, Pidgeot's a really good card with that amazing ability to get any card out of your deck. And it's another Lucario build. Another Lucario build. This time I'm playing the 1/1 Arceus in the deck. A lot more going on in this build here. It's got Terrakion, Bibarels, Arceus, Lucario, and the Jirachi and Greninja, so there's a lot going on. Greninja also seems like a pretty good card to play with Garchomp because it can discard energy for you for Garchomp's main attack. More builds here. This one's playing Slacking. I guess Slacking's not bad. 14 energy, playing a ton of energy, but Slacking is a cool idea because you already have Path, so you can Slacking too. Garchomp can accelerate energy to Slacking, so it is a pretty heavy hitter, does 260 damage. It's an interesting secondary attacker to play in the deck for a V Pokemon. We got another Decidueye Samurott build. I guess, yeah, the Samurott does, of course, do more damage for each energy you have in play. And if you're putting a ton of energy in play with Garchomp, you can put a reversal energy on your Samurott and then attack and then hit pretty hard. I guess that's kind of the concept behind this build here. Also still playing the Decidueye V-Star in the deck. Definitely an interesting card to see within Garchomp is that Decidueye. We'll have to see if this build is, any good. More Lucario action here. Again, it looks like Lucario is going to be the way that's going to be the most popular way to play it, and maybe it is the best way to play it once again. I guess the one thing you got to be mindful of is whether or not your Lucario gets stuck in the active. After you take like a big knockout, you know, maybe you got to make sure you're able to move Lucario, but it definitely seems like a pretty nice concept. Because, yeah, Lucario could get stuck in the active, but I guess when you have 12 energy, it's not hard to move it. More Lucario. Another Arc Pidgeot engine here for the Garchomp deck, which is cool to see. Kind of like Charizard in a way. It is playing a very heavy Arceus count. It's more of, I guess, like an Arc deck. We got another Lucario build here, once again, with the Bibarels and the Manaphy's. Yeah, pretty straightforward build. And then, of course, we got another Pidgeot Bibarel build. This one does have that Terrakion and the Groudon, opting for no V-Attacker or Lucario's, just playing the Terrakion and Groudon. But yeah, maybe Groudon's good, because again, 240 damage is not bad. You can discard the energy of Groudon and then just put it back into play with Garchomp. He's also playing 4 Cross Switchers too, which is kind of cool. I guess when you have Bibarel and Pidgeot, pulling off Cross Switcher combos isn't too hard. More Lucarios. Yeah, multiple Lucario builds with Terrakion too this time. This one is cool. This one is just straight up just Garchomp. There's nothing else crazy in the deck. It's just a Garchomp EX deck. Just trying to attack with Garchomp the entire time with Bibarel. Full face guard to give you some bulk. Then we got another Arc build. This one has a Cleffa. Cleffa's kind of cute. I mean, you can drop to 7 cards in hand. It can definitely help set up, you know, your rare candy Garchomp combos if need be. Grant, I guess, is kind of neat. Does Grant work? I don't think Grant works with Lucario or Garchomp, though. I guess with Terrakion. More Lucario builds here. Once again, we see another Lucario build with the one of Arcanine. I do like the Arcanine. Arcanine actually is really good with Lucario, too, actually. So maybe Arcanine is the secret sauce for Lucario deck, because though you do play Path, if Path isn't in play, you can put a ton of energy into Lucario's ability and Garchomp and then come in out of nowhere with an Arcanine. When you have a Fruit Tree pivot with Garchomp, it's not hard to pull that off. I actually kind of like that. It's kind of like playing Weirdier and Lugia in a way. Yeah, that's kind of cool, actually. Maybe Arcanine with Lucario is actually the secret, the sauce. Because, yeah, it's kind of like having Weirdier within Lugia, right? You just have this, like, big attacker when you kind of put a ton of energy in play. I kind of like that. Another Terrakion build, playing Altaria to put a supporter on top of your deck. That's kind of cute. Another Gallade build, opting for just straight Terrakion. So I guess you go, like, Terrakion for one turn, and then you go Garchomp, and then you go back in Terrakion. You just kind of rinse and repeat that process over and over again, I guess, is that's kind of the combo. Because, again, you can't do Cavern Tackle twice in a row, even with 2 different Terrakions. This one's cool. It's the Lycanroc build of Garchomp EX. I think the other Lycanroc does like 240 if the attacking Pokemon has no damage on it. And then, of course, you have the Lycanroc EX that if it gets hit, the attacking Pokemon takes 10 damage. That's kind of cool. I guess that gives you a better Guardy matchup, maybe? I don't even know. It's interesting. Lycanroc Garchomp seems like a cool concept, though, for sure. I like the creativity. Then we got more the Lucario build here. More Lucario builds. Yeah, definitely the most popular way to play it because we see a third build with Lucario. We see another build with Lucario. Yeah, definitely the most popular way to play Garchomp is going to be with Lucario for sure. Because, yeah, that one prize attacker is, like, pretty deadly. Yeah, a lot of Lucario builds here. Going back to, like, the toolbox attacker deck with the Terrakion. I guess more of a straightforward Garchomp deck, though. Yeah. Some popular cards we're seeing, I guess. We see Lucario a lot. We're seeing Greninja a lot. We're also seeing Irida and Cheryl. Those are all really popular cards with Garchomp because some of the best cards you can play with it. We got another Arc Pidgeot build here. Again, kind of just like playing a Charizard EX deck in a way. It is a Judge Path deck, though, which is kind of interesting. I guess like the problem with playing Path, though, is, again, you're going to shop your own Pidgeot. And then we got 2 more Lucario builds here. Again, showing how popular the Lucario build is going to be. And then another Lucario build, another Lucario build. This one's playing the Kingdra. And that is it, I guess, for the Garchomp decks for now. Of course, there might be more in the future here. But those are all the Garchomp decks we got to work with. But again, as you can see, Garchomp really does make fighting Pokemon strong again. I mean, it is nice to have fighting acceleration in the format because fighting Pokemon have been sorely lacking Energy Excel. And we see that the Lucario build is the most popular way to play it. We're seeing other cool cards like Arcanine, Terrakion, and the new Groudon also seems good. But now we can move on to the Skeledirge deck. Now, these are going to be the cool ones. Skeledirge, I'm excited to show off these lists here because there are some cool lists people came up with. So Skeledirge EX is really cool. It's a metal Pokemon, not a fire Pokemon. And being a metal type ain't bad. I mean, against Shampoo, the main trait of this card is going to be that Explosive Song ability. Once during turn, you may discard a fire energy from your hand. If you do, your Pokemon's attacks deal 60 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's kind of insane. Obviously, if you play 2 of these, you're doing 120 more damage. And there are some really cool cards in the format that if they're doing a little bit more damage, you can pull off some pretty crazy combos. And that, my friends, is going to be what makes Skeledirge so spicy. Because there are some spicy Skeledirge decks to look at, and I am excited to look at them because this ability is really cool. And again, there's a lot of attackers you can play that if they got a little bit of extra damage boost, they can really do some crazy combos. Let's take a look at some lists. First list here we do have is the Arc Pidgeot build here. Playing Radiant Zard. Radiant Zard definitely seems like it could be good within Skeledirge because you're able to abuse Radiant Charizard to do more damage with Skeledirge. It's a more straightforward Arc build. This is where things get spicy. This is what I was talking about when people came up with some spicy Skeledirge decks. This is a Greedent VMAX Skeledirge. Now, Greedent VMAX, of course, does have that attack where it does 30 damage, and if you take a knockout with Greedent on, I think it's any Pokemon or basic or whatever, you take an extra prize card, or you take 2 extra prize cards or something. So if you knock out a Comfey with Greedent, you take 3 prizes. It takes half your prizes in one attack. The problem is Greedent only does 30 damage. And we've had to try to, play some niche combos like the gloves to do more damage, Halucha, Alakazam, Radiant Blastoise, stuff like that. But Skeledirge seems like the most straightforward way to play it. So basically, you just discard a fire from your hand, and Greedent does 90 damage, which is going to KO a lot of basics, right? You're going to knock out Sableyes, Comfeys, Ralts, all that stuff. All these basics, Charmanders, Pidgeys, Mew from Celebrations, Bidoofs, they're all just dead, and Greedent is going to take 3 prizes for KOing them. That is pretty insane in my books. That is one of the best combos I think you could make with Skeledirge, is play with Greedent, because winning the game very quickly is very good. And being able to take half your prize potentially in one attack is ridiculous. This is what excites me about Skeledirge. While the ability is really powerful, it does create these really cool concepts like playing Greedent with Skeledirge. We got a Skeledirge Charizard EX deck. Another concept I think is very good is Charizard EX with Skeledirge, because you're already playing Fire Energy. Charizard has always been kind of, like, it's good, obviously, it's popular, but its damage output is very awkward sometimes, and when you have Skeledirge, all of a sudden Charizard one-hit KOs something in the active spot, which is, I think what's going to make Skeledirge so good with Charizard is, just out of nowhere, you're just going to KO something in one hit with a Skeledirge. Like, even that plus 60 damage is going to make Charizard do some pretty deadly numbers. Like, if it's doing, 240 damage, you play Skeledirge, you're doing 300 out of nowhere. So even just taking 2 prizes can enable Charizard to want to KO something. And that is what can make the Charizard Skeledirge deck so scary. This is another concept I think has a lot of potential. We got another Greedent build here. Greedent definitely is the one I'm excited for the most. Like I said, this build is looking pretty darn sick and pretty darn cool with the Greedent VMAX and the Skeledirge combo. Really cool concept. It is more of an arc deck with the 1/1 Greedent as opposed to leaning more into the Greedent, but the Greedent option is good when you're playing against those low HP decks. We got just a Pidgeot arc build here of Skeledirge, trying to make Arceus do more damage, which isn't bad either. Even Pidgeot can attack. Another Charizard EX build. Again, I like Charizard EX with Skeledirge. This one plays a 1/1 line. I mean, you can get away with 2. I mean, again, double ability is 120 more damage. 120 more damage is ridiculous, but even just doing 60 more damage really can get the job done in a lot of scenarios. I do like the ability to play like Radiant Charizard with Skeledirge, because Charizard can do 250, and then it can do 310 out of nowhere, which is nuts. That's nasty. Another Skeledirge Arc deck. This one does play the Radiant Charizard as your only other attacker apart from Arc and Skeledirge. And I guess that's fine. You can, of course, use Charizard again to hit hard. You can build it up pretty quickly with, like, Raihan. You can put double turbo on it even. Because even if you're doing 230, you're still doing 290 damage. With a belt, you're still doing, 320 out of nowhere with Charizard, which is kind of bananas. We see another build here playing the Radiant Charizard. I like mixing up and playing the other Skeledirge. The other Skeledirge can do 270 damage for 2 energy if there's no damage on it. So you plus 60 that. I mean, hey, that's what, 230 or 330 damage. That's enough to KO Charizards and stuff. I mean, that's pretty good too. Like, I don't hate that either, man. Like, Skeledirge EX with Skeledirge EX. I mean, that's not a bad concept because, again, it's a nice strong attacker. It's also got 340 HP. I mean, Skeledirge EX from Scum 5 base set is quite a monster. I like this build here using the one of Entei. Entei's not a bad attacker either. I mean, obviously your opponent can play around Entei, but it's kind of like when you play like Suicune Ludicolo, where of course Ludicolo gives you that extra damage boost, and then out of nowhere, Suicune just takes a KO. And that's, I guess, kind of the same thing with playing the Entei V, where you get that plus 60 damage, and then out of nowhere, Entei's taking a knockout. Another Greedent build. Again, this is definitely the way that I'm excited to try out, is the Skeledirge Greedent deck. This is going to be the one that I cannot wait to get my hands on. And I think that's it for Skeledirge Ex decks, yeah, because then it just goes back to the 151 Skeledirge, or the Scarlet Violet base set, not 151, yeah, it just goes back to the Scarlet Violet base set Skeledirge decks. But Skeledirge Ex Metal is looking pretty good. I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways to play it. You don't just have to play it with Charizard and with Greedent. You can play with other combos. I mean, it can work with any Pokemon, keep in mind. You do have to kind of use a Fire Energy combo, but that Skeledirge ability is pretty sick, and I cannot wait to try out Skeledirge. Definitely going to be one of my favorite Pokemon coming out in Paradox Rift, and I cannot wait to try out Garchomp either, because Garchomp EX is going to make fighting Pokemon a lot better. And we haven't really had fighting Pokemon in the meta for a while now, because they've just been kind of lacking. The only one really is Urshifu, and hey, fighting Pokemon are kind of needed right now with how popular Miraidon is, so definitely something that I'm excited to see happen, and we'll have to see what other Skeledirge decks pop up. I'm definitely going to be looking at more Raging Surf decks kind of as we lead into Paradox Rift. I think Paradox Rift is going to get fully revealed probably like closer to when the set releases. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see that many Japan Paradox Rift decks using like the future and ancient mechanic, because it comes out very soon. But we might be able to squeeze in one video before then to look at some early lists before it comes out. But the release date kind of lines up too soon. But we can look at some Raging Surf decks in the future. I'm definitely more Raging Surf decks to look at. I mean, we got the new Xatu and Mewtwo EX I want to look at. There's definitely more to come. And of course, as we lead up to the set release, we're going to see even more Garchomp, Skeledirge, and Goldango lists, which we will hopefully be able to look at here in the future. But hope you all enjoyed the video here on the early Skeledirge and Garchomp EX decks. I'm excited for both of these two new EXs to come out. There's some pretty cool stuff you can do with both of them, and I think that both of them are going to shake up the game quite a bit with their pretty cool combos you can make, and making fighting Pokemon good again will be nice, as again, Miraidon is really popular. Hope you all enjoyed today's video here on the second channel, and leave a like if you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll see all the deck lists from Peoria Regional soon. I do have a really cool video idea that I'm going to be making here on the second channel, hopefully going to come out midweek. It's a bit of a long video, it's going to take a while to make, but I'm excited to do that because it's a really cool concept I've never seen done on PDCG YouTube before, so I'm definitely excited to look at that. But hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye-bye.